Last week we had the opportunity to talk with our music store owner, Rich. Rich, thank you so much for having us over today.
No, it's my pleasure, Mike.
Well, it's a lot of fun to be here. Rich, I'm looking at all the wonderful things in the store, and there is just so much here to look at. Rich, when people come into a music store, what should they be thinking about? Is it okay to just walk up to an instrument and maybe just pick it up and start to play it, or?
For the most part, yes. We don't put anything out that isn't. We don't allow to be grabbed, to be picked up and played with a little bit. I mean, you have to respect the instrument and be careful, but yeah, if it's out, generally speaking, you can pick it up and play it.
Right, but really, it helps to have someone kind of show you what it can do, right? Especially if they're on the beginning end, right?
Of course. Well, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you find the instrument that fits best for you. You might have a question when you come in. You're looking for something specific, and it's our job to ask questions and try and help you find it is what you need, and will make you happy.
That's why it's really important to have a person who really knows music.
It's that personal touch, yes.
It is that personal touch. Rich, we asked some students just the other day a few questions about what they would like to learn about if they were to come in to check out a music store. And a couple of our younger students have asked a couple of questions. The first question is, do you have instruments from the four families?
Of course. Woodwind, percussion, woodwind, brass wind, percussion, strings. Yeah, we have everything.
Can you show us maybe one of some of those sections?
Sure. Well, these are my personal instruments here. I as you know, play saxophone, flute, clarinet. These are the woodwinds. But yeah, this is obviously the flute. This is the clarinet. This is my alto saxophone.
Yeah.
This is my main instrument that I grew up and started playing on when I was a kid.
Right, as we discussed, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously this is not the one that I started on. This one's a much nicer horn. But I started off, like we said before, on just a student model horn, and now since I play professionally, I need something that will do the job. So
yeah, let's hear what it sounds like.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Now, this one is from which family of the orchestra? Or
this is the woodwind. This is the alto saxophone. I take off my mask here.
That's fine.
So, since this instrument was invented in the 1800s, Bach, Beethoven, Rachmaninoff, all those great composers of the past wouldn't know what this is. They'd look at it and think it wouldn't understand what it is.
Right. Now, boys and girls, as we've discussed when we've talked about the four families of instruments, one of the things that is interesting about the woodwind instruments is that all of your fingers are engaged when we're talking about a woodwind instrument. Another distinguishing characteristic about woodwind instruments is there is either a reed. Can you tell us a little bit about the reed?
Sure. The reed is just a small piece of cane that they put out and age for sometimes 20, 30, 40 years to dry out. And at the end of that time, they cut it and shape it to fit the mouthpiece of each individual instrument. So the reed for a clarinet would be smaller than for the alto saxophone.
Right.
It would be different for the bass clarinet, tenor sax, baritone sax. They're all different. Oboes, which are a double reed, actually have two reeds that go like this.
Oh, wow.
And they both vibrate.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So all fingers are engaged, and
Yes.
the reed is used with woodwind instruments.
Yes, there are somewhere around 27 different keys that I can push down with my fingers, depending on what note I'm playing.
Let's hear it. Man, I want to learn from you. You're fantastic.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
That's great. Let's see a couple of other from other families.
So,
what do you have?
Let me put my
Oh, that's fine.
mics back on.
That's good.
Behind me, we have the trumpet. The cool thing about trumpet, it's more compact. It's one of the leaders of the band. It generally will play the melody. It only has 3 valves. And the mouthpiece, instead of having a reed like the woodwinds, you actually buzz into the mouthpiece. So,
what do you mean by buzz?
So you go through the mouthpiece.
I see.
And depending on how you place your lips and buzz your lips, it creates a different pitch on the instrument, because you only have 3 keys. You don't have 27 keys to choose from.
Yeah.
So each key, each piston that you push down has between, well, a minimum of 16 to 20 notes you can play off.
Wow. So So a lot of people would think, oh, just 3 buttons, it's easier to play, but it's not the case, is it?
Well, it's in certain ways, yes, but no. You have to have a much better ear to be able to hear the note, to be able to buzz the note out through your lips, because your lips actually create the pitch.
All right. Well, that's great. Pitch. There's that word, the highness or lowness of sound.
Correct.
So, Rich, our next question that came in from our students is, what instruments do you have in the music store that make a high pitch, and what instruments do you have in the music store that make a low pitch?
Okay, good question. Actually, with the woodwinds, the flute and the clarinet are considered the high-pitched instruments.
Can you show us?
Yeah.
That'd be great. At least one. Boy, that's great.
Okay. So we'll grab the clarinet. So the clarinets and the flutes both are woodwinds again, and they play high note, the higher notes in the range. There is a bass clarinet and an alto clarinet which play lower, but generally speaking, in beginning band, you'll start with the clarinet, with what's called the B-flat soprano clarinet, which is this, and when you get into middle school, you can evolve into different clarinets if you like.
Wow, you're really good.
Thank you.
Wow, I teach clarinet, and I'm not that good. That's fantastic. Well, wonderful. What instruments do you have that make a low pitch?
So we have low pitch.
Or a low pitch?
Or lower pitch. Well, the alto saxophone is the middle range.
Uh-huh.
So you have the alto saxophone, alto clarinet, the French horn. For the low pitches, we actually have a baritone, which is over here. There you go.
Wow.
This is the baritone. It's like a small tuba, if you will.
Like a baby tuba.
Yeah. So this one actually has 4 valves.
Okay. Do most of them have 4 valves?
I know most of them you start out with 3 valves.
Okay.
So this way, sorry.
So what family is this one part of?
This is part of the brass family. So think of this as a giant trumpet.
Oh, okay.
Most baritone players would not like you to call it a giant trumpet, but we can call it a giant trumpet.
Okay.
Now, here's
probably
that
just like most tuba players wouldn't like you to call it a baby tuba.
Exactly.
Probably, yeah, right.
Exactly. So you have this giant mouthpiece that again you buzz in just like with the trumpet, and let's see if we can make some noise to make the front.
That's great. Wow.
Is the baritone.
That's really low.
Very low, yes.
Very low,
Very
yes.
low.
Wow. Well, that's great. Well, gosh, what if I want to learn an instrument and I'm not in 5th grade yet? What can I do?
Let me slide around here. So, beginning bands in elementary school generally started in 5th grade, 6th grade, as you all know. In 4th grade, they oftentimes do the recorder. If the recorder isn't what you really want to learn, or you want to learn an instrument, and you're in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, you can always take private lessons someplace. Piano is a great starter. The piano is kind of the base of all instrumental music for the Western world. So if you learn to play piano, you can branch off into any of the band instruments very easily. We've found that students that take a year or 2 years of piano, when it comes time to play these instruments, are really amazing, and
Wow.
they just pick them up like that.
Well, this looks like somebody special coming in.
That is my daughter Raquel.
This
is my daughter Raylene.
And
Hi,
that's
Ray.
wonderful. And
How you
so,
doing?
so
Can I
tell
say
us.
hi to the camera?
Yeah, say hi to the camera.
She's not going to say hi to the camera.
So tell me, Raquel, do you play an instrument?
No, but I take vocal lessons.
You take vocal. Can you take vocal lessons? in
Oh
the
yeah,
music
of
store?
course you can take vocal lessons.
We're going to be talking about lessons just in a little bit.
Okay.
You know, and I think that's going to just lead us right into our next segment.
Awesome.
All right, thank you so much, Rich,
No
for
problem.
allowing
Thanks,
us to come today and talk a little bit about some of your cool instruments here. What sort of accessories do you need to buy or consider?
Sure.
And I got another question for you about
Okay.
instruments.
Mhm.
Is it why is it important to play a quality instrument?
Well, especially in the beginning, because you don't know, a beginner doesn't know how to play the instrument. It's impossible to tell if the beginner is making a mistake or if it's a poor quality instrument. So with the higher quality instruments, you know the mistake or the if it's out of tune or if there's something going wrong. It's generally the player, not the instrument.
Uh-huh.
So when I'm playing my instruments, if something goes wrong, if something doesn't sound right, I know it's me.
Right.
I never doubt that it's the instrument.
Right.
But with the more inexpensive instruments that are of lower quality, it's difficult because you can't tell, and then you have to bring it to someone like us, and we can tell you if the instrument has a problem. And oftentimes, more often than not, in the beginning, it's an instrumental problem with the lower quality instruments.
Right, right. So it's very important to have a quality instrument.
Yes.
Do instruments ever break?
Oh yes, all the time.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but yes, we see instruments in every week that have issues. I mean, if you're not careful with the instrument, like for say the flute, if you drop the instrument, of course it's going to get dented, and then you have a possibility of one of the keys being off or something, and then if this is bent, then air escapes, and then the instrument won't play.
I see.
And we have professionals that will go through the instrument and make sure that it's all lined up and placed proper.
Oh, I see. Okay. It's professional repair people.
Oh yes, oh yeah, that is a job within the music industry. A very important job.
Wow.
Is the repair of instruments, yes.
That's great. Now, let me ask you another question since we're about instruments. I thought we were done here, but I totally forgot to ask you. Is it wise? How do I find the right instrument for me to play? And if I see one that I'm interested in, is it wise to just go and buy one?
Ooh, okay. So, for me, in my opinion, I think everyone is kind of called to an instrument. There's a dare I say, a spiritual connection that you make with the instrument. You find that instrument that it makes sense to you.
Right, right.
So, I'm a very much believer in that.
Uh-huh.
That aside, you find the one that just seems the most fun. And oftentimes you grow into really loving the instrument.
Wow, so then you might not want to just buy one right away.
No, you actually, a lot of times parents will rent an instrument for their children. And especially in fourth, fifth, sixth grade, wherever the beginning bands start in whichever district it is, oftentimes it's wise to rent an instrument for a few months.
Right.
And make sure, at least 3 or 4 months, to make sure that there's that connection there and they really love what they're doing.
Right.
And
right.
then look at maybe purchasing. And it can, in the long run, it can save a lot of money if you have to change instruments.
So if I rent an instrument and I don't like it,
You just return it.
Oh,
With
see.
With us, you don't like it, you can return it, and if you want to try something else, we just exchange it.
oh wow, well that's fantastic. Now, let me ask you, so you just sort of exchange an instrument if you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Does color make a difference?
Now, I run into trouble with this because my saxophone is white, and I am a firm believer of instruments should be gold or silver, with the exception of clarinet, which should be black. And if it's wood, then it should be wood tone. The colored instruments generally are a cheaper instrument, but my saxophone is actually a handmade horn in Germany, and it is a $3,000 instrument. So it's not a beginner's instrument.
Oh, I see. All right.
So buyer beware on exotic colors. Yes.
Right. So when you talk about that connection, it has to be a lot more than color.
Yeah,
right?
not just that's a pretty purple trumpet.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's not the way to go.
That makes perfect sense. Wow, look at this cabinet with all of these different things. Is this an accessory cabinet, more or less?
Yeah, that's an accessory and an upgrades cabinet for all the variety of woodwind and brasswind instruments.
Tell us about a couple of the accessories.
Sure. Well, every instrument should come with their own proper mouthpiece. But in the case of trumpets and trombones, you have different sizes of mouthpieces. Many people don't know that the mouthpiece actually has a different depth, and the cup, which is where you buzz into, has different sizes and shapes and thicknesses of metal, and that all affects the sound quality of it.
Oh, wow.
So you have that, and then moving over, we have ligatures. There are different ligatures you can get of different materials.
Now, is that a ligature?
Yeah.
Which was on your saxophone that was holding the reed on?
Correct. For instance, this is one of those leather ligatures.
Oh,
that
okay.
we saw down there.
Yeah.
That's replacing just the kind of standard metal ligature.
Okay.
Then if you get into a more advanced or exotic, you have something like mine, which actually just touches the mouthpiece in 2 points, which in theory gives it a different tone quality.
different sound.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And then you have, coming back down here, you have the valve oil, slide grease,
Mhm.
disinfectant spray, which is so important right now.
How do you know
Because we all
which?
disinfect your instruments.
How do you know which is the best thing to choose for your instrument?
Um,
You might want to talk with someone about that,
yeah,
wouldn't you?
we can help you find the right piece for you.
So, how do you know what the best accessories are for which instrument?
Well, each instrument comes with their basic needs and supplies. For instance, the clarinet and saxophone need a swab and cord grease, maybe key oil, depending on how old the instrument is. The basic maintenance things, a reed guard, some brushes to keep it clean, some disinfectant spray because that's important nowadays.
Yeah.
The flute, really, it's just polishing cloths and swabs to keep it clean inside and out. There's not a whole lot that you have to do for that.
Oh, okay.
With trumpet and French horn and baritone and tuba, you need valve oil and slide grease.
Uh-huh.
And with every instrument, we can add on the caveat that you should have a disinfectant spray.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's
Caveat's kind of like a little tip.
Right,
Kind of like
so-
a little bit of a warning there. Yeah.
Right. You want to make sure that your instrument is disinfected and clean at all times, so that way
Okay.
no one gets sick or you don't get sick.
Cleanliness is very important.
That's
isn't
right.
It? Yeah. Everybody's learning about that now. We're washing our hands all the time.
It's so very important these days. Yes.
It is very, very important.
And then for the brass instruments, they have flex brushes to clean the inside of it, mouthpiece brushes, things like that to help it keep it clean. Again, it's important to keep your instrument clean. If you keep it clean, it will play well for a long time. It needs less time being the repairman.
Oh, that's always a good thing, right?
Oh yeah, and for
Right.
saxophone and clarinet also you need reeds.
Reeds, which
Yeah.
we talked about a little bit earlier.
That's right.
I wasn't aware that the reeds could be aged up to how many years did you say?
Between 20 and 50 years, yeah. Just sitting
Wow.
out in a field, out in the open air, drying out.
Isn't that incredible?
It's amazing.
That's amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for
Sure.
showing us about the accessories.
My pleasure.
All right. What a great experience this was.
And it was wonderful. I found out things I didn't know about this music store and the resources that it provides.
Tons of resources, things, people, and a place
Yes.
to come to get what you need.
And if I have a question, I know we can call here, and they are involved in the community. So that is awesome.
That is awesome.
I wanted next time when we get together, we're going to explore other resources in our community that help support and encourage music for our students.
See you soon.